All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ASL Season 13 Awards video. I am here with Peach
Hello.
and Melone.
What's up?
All right, we have this video timely, coming right at the end of the season. No delay. We obviously didn't sit on this for several weeks. We're ready to go. Memories fresh, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
100% what happened. No doubt about it. Special shout out to Peach for making most of the slide, if not all of them. Coach of the season. We had several strong competitors this season. Cameruption, Keister, TG, and the Crispy Panda, new to the league. First year he's ever played here with us. But as you can see, records speak for themselves. Coach of the season was none other than Keister, the Phoenix Flygons. 11-2, plus 31, got the vast majority of the votes. And I mean, he had a pincer, so what else is there really to say? Okay.
Yeah, he definitely had one of the strongest teams in my opinion. Just the Mawile Lottie core was very strong offensively, and the pincer had like a few good sweeps there. Licka Licky being very good defensive wall, and just the rest of his team, which you'll see as some of the slides go on. It's just very well put together. Definitely one of the best teams I've seen Keister draft, and probably one of the best teams I've seen in recent ASL history.
Yeah, I think a lot of aspects of this season have kind of just been one big ass throwback because it's as you'll see later in the videos, it's been a bit of a renaissance season for more than one coach, but this coach in particular being one of them, Keister, and just a lot of aspects of his run here were, a throwback. Drafts a very good team. Maybe less people complained about his team than last time he won, but that's a good thing. But he was dominant all season long and got himself another ship. So I'm really happy to see it.
And the nice thing I can say is Keister and I talk pretty regularly in DMs, and I know the season before last, he was really frustrated with his struggles. And so this 11-2 was like hard earned. This wasn't something where he just kind of had a better team and he did better. Like he really, really worked this season. So credit to him for getting the 11-2, which is a really hard mark to get, but also earning it. I mean, he put in the work week in, week out, and was very deserving of it. So, cap tip to you, my friend.
All right, moving on for most improved coach. Only 3 people this time because, well, a lot of coaches didn't improve. But first off, we have Keister from the Phoenix Flygons going 11-2. We have myself representing the Woodland Weaviles 9-4, and we have TG of the Vancouver Volcaronas going 8-5. And the winner, once again, was Keister with that 11-2 pretty dominantly, especially when you have the stats laid out there like that. And this really was just like a season where Keister did feel like he felt like it was kind of one of those like last season you see there 3-10 wasn't really a great showing, but this season we were reminded like, yeah, this guy won the ASL before. Like this is who he is, and again, he just had a really strong, well put together team. Like hands down, I think like best team in the league this season. From me personally, that's just my opinion. And I don't really know how much else there is to say. I'm surprised he didn't take home the whole thing.
Yeah, this season I decided to step down from being nominated, but this is kind of an obvious choice here. I think, just surely this has to be one of the greatest differences in records in consecutive seasons that we've seen. But yeah, everything else Peach kind of covered. It was definitely well deserved. So, congrats, Keister.
Yeah. And I just reiterate my previous comments. I mean, not to say that he didn't work hard through his 3-10 season, but he'd been out of the game for a while. Especially out of the game when you talk about the level of competitive play that we face in the ASL. So he really went to the grindstone, and the experience helped, So all the pieces came together, and now it's the test of what's next, right? Are you going to keep up the 11-2 side? You going to backslide a little bit on us? Next season is certainly going to be an exciting season for the Phoenix Flygons.
All right. Next, we have the hardest team to prep for. Already had a bit of a chirping going on about who could potentially win this award, but we'll start off with the Houston Dynamos, coached by Landers I himself, going 9-4 with a +11 differential. Next, we obviously have Keister nominated once again. A little bit of a conversation earlier from Peaches about his team, but we already covered everyone else's records. And then Peaches, we did. He's next. William Levi's, another great season for him. And as Brad mentioned earlier, the newbie, the Crispy Panda, nominated once again for the hardest team to prep for. And the winner's a tie. Very crazy. Another one that just is not very unexpected. I mean, it was definitely a toss up between the two.
Mhm.
So it's good that they both won. I personally voted for, I guess I should say Cammy, because it was Cammy, not Lando I. But that speaks for itself about his team. But overall, just really strong teams from both of them. It's just like you look at it's just kind of a lot of his looking at paper. Like you see the first four Mons, Lando, I, Scissor, Weavile, Sylveon. That's just not fun. All of his lower tier Mons are like very good for their respective tiers. And it's basically the same thing for Keister. You have Mega Mawile, Ladio, Zapdos, and Ladio Zapdos as your tier Bs is kind of insane. And just the same about his lower tiers being very good. So yeah, obviously these are two very good candidates, and it shows with their records.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. They were both good. I voted for Camruption and the Dynamos simply because Lando I Weavile is just, from a defensive standpoint, impossible to cover fully. Your plan for one of those two is gonna have to be to revenge kill it, because they're ridiculous. They're absolutely stupid, especially when one of them can Calm On, one of them can Sword Stance and ruin your whole situation. But Keister's team was also very good. So hats off to both of them. He had a good draft day, made good decisions along the season, and both ended up with strong teams.
Yeah, I guess I'll reveal my vote now because you both did it. I actually voted for Keister.
What?
I'll get
No
to it.
way.
First off, I just want to point out for all the viewers, see that vote for Brad, even though he wasn't nominated. This is one of the few questions I left open-ended because, the polling wasn't rushed, but I just want to make sure like we got all the right options on the board. So I left an open-ended one there. Hence how Brad got a vote. I don't remember who voted for him offhand.
I don't know either.
But
It's mystery.
one thing I'll say, I intentionally wrote Lando I as the coach for Cam's team, really because I felt like that was the deciding factor in what made his team so hard to prep for. Because I still actually remember thinking back to the seasons, like when I was prepping for him, I think it was week 12 or 13, I was prepping for him. I'm like, wow, Lando I is actually very scary. And everyone else just prepping, and it was like the big threat on paper was the Lando I. And honestly, like I feel like if he had any other tier A, like probably would have changed some of his other mons. But really, I felt like it was that Lando I and that Mantine that held his team together. Because otherwise, you look at it, and he has an insane fire weakness. Like it's Mantine that resists, and then the Flareon's an immunity or a resist depending on if it's guts. And that mon will rarely ever come. And if it does come, it's still a Flareon. It's not going to be doing the most. I say as I lost a Zygarde to it, but it's one of those things where I felt Lando I really was sort of the deciding factor in making him a hard team to prep for, whereas Keister had a more balanced throughout, like threats in every tier. I feel like he just genuinely had the best picks from each tier. Like Slowbro, Crocodile in C, Zapdos, Latios in B, Mega Mawile in A, and then his D's and E's were all solid as well.
All right. On to most creative. We had Amarillo, Melone, Peach, and Static, all nominated for most creative. Quick shout out to Static, 3 and 10. Not sure if his creativity worked or not, but people definitely saw you as a creative coach. And Amarillo won, 8 and 5, +9. He had a nice. I thought his team was insane. It just shows the difficulty of the ASL season to hold him down to 8 and 5 with the Rillaboom plus the Magearna, and the way he used Alolan Marowak was just ridiculous. Killing Magearna is already hard, and then you take away the ability to Earthquake it. I didn't like it playing against it. What'd you guys think?
It was definitely very, very, very tough. More so, it's kind of like one of those things, kind of like how I mentioned the Lando Eye. It's so scary on paper that it could actually just ruin your prep plan, and like you could potentially just like lose because you over prep for it or you under prep for it somehow. And it has just so many good sets too. I love the Mons he had on his team, like the Marowak, the Weezing too. I remember he said he brought against me. He had Keyberry with Belch, and like it's just one of those things where it's like it's kind of weird, and I don't think he ever really got the chance to use it against me. But like you look at it, and that's like base 120 poison moves just flying out of that Weezing right there. So I mean, he just had a lot of cool mons. He had a lot of cool things he was doing with them, and I just loved what he brought to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with everything you guys said there. I don't have a lot to add. It definitely is showing of a kind of a rough welcome to the league when you go 8 and 5 and you're sitting there in 7th place. But obviously, a fantastic season for him. So, looking for him to hopefully make playoffs next season.
Yeah. This, just of note, is the first 8 and 5 coach in the history of the ASL to miss the playoffs. Just
That's crazy.
putting that out there
Wow.
for you guys. Fun tidbit.
That's a very tight playoff spot this year. Moving on to the Mons, we have best tier C Mon. We have Torrent Greninja from Amarillo's team. We have the Nidoking from TG's team. We have Nihilego from Malone's team, and we have Silvally from Ian's team. And the winner is, of course, the Greninja that has managed to stay in the MVP leaderboard top 15 since like week like 3, 4, 5, like very early on in the season. And it was a Greninja season. Everyone who played knows that. Everyone saw that, but really just a strong, dominant Mon that I'm excited to see in every tier next season.
Yeah, I mean, again, don't have a lot to say. Definitely funny that you and I, as the other Greninja users, end up in this scenario here. But obviously, he used this mod incredibly well, and perhaps a bit creatively, as he was just given the award for the most creative coach. But this was just kind of another one where I think I mean, I don't know, Nihilego might have been a stretch, but I think Nidoking and Silvally definitely were could also been deserving of the award, but it seemed like the Greninja kind of had it in the bag just due to its offensive presence.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this award is a cap tip to a proper roster construction. Greninja Torrent's a fine Mon, but it's not really a 13 kill Mon. But when you have to prep for Rillaboom and Magearna, and he's using Alolan Marowak to punch holes every week, like eventually you can't cover everything. And Greninja seemed to perpetually be the Mon that was just like that one thing that's too much to deal with. So Greninja itself, really good Mon. Amarillo's use of it, really good. But I think the roster construction of that team really bolstered this record. So cool. Always love to see Greninja being successful. Got to be one of the best design Mons in the game, right?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Very much up there.
All right. Next, we have the best Tier D Mon, and the nominees are Romatis from TG's Vancouver Volcaronas went 7-6 +1. Chestnut from TCP's Hartford Whalmers going 6-4 +2. Donphan from my St. Louis Skiddy SC going 12-7 +5. And Lycan Rock Dusk from Peaches Woodland Weaviles going 11-4 +7. And the winner is Donphan. I was definitely happy, delighted to see that the results came out this way. If there's anything I'll take from this season, it's this. I think this is just another one where when you get to the best tiered C, D, E, etc. Mons, it's um definitely more than one deserving option. I think that's generally the case. So shout out to all the other Mons nominated here, but I think just kind of what made Donphan was so important is maybe it's due to my well, I mean it is due to my draft, but I definitely relied on this thing heavily throughout the season, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but this time it definitely worked out in my favor. I felt like I was able to use it pretty well in most situations. Um, some situations it didn't, work out well in. That's going to happen when you bring them on to a lot of your games. That's in tier D. But I'm really happy that I made it here, just due to the amount of work you put in the season.
Yeah, Donphan in my mind is absolutely, unquestionably a Tier C Mon that happens to own an apartment in Tier D. I think it's a tremendous Mon, plays well above its current draft capital in the ASL, especially with its really surprising coverage with things like Seed Bomb and Ice Shard, powerful Earthquake, Stab, Rapid Spin, and makes it a little more useful, even though Donphan at +1 still slow as all get out. It's a really nice Mon, far better than where we currently rank it, and it was used really effectively this season. So I love to see it. I'm a huge Donphan fan, if you will, and really happy to see it getting a Hall of Fame entry this season.
Good one.
I am also a Don fan. Oh, I never thought to say that. And I gotta commend Melone on this because this is a Mon you really it can perform to a tier C level. It can definitely also perform to a tier E level depending on how you use it and how much your team relies on it. I don't know. I didn't really see how much your team was dependent on Donphan, as I guess maybe you did. I definitely saw it do work for you some games, but I think when it's like being over relied on, like it's a team that doesn't have a lot of removal or doesn't have a lot of hazard setting or doesn't have a lot of priority users, where Donphan tends to struggle. But when it has like that wiggle room, that freedom to be able to run like those fun coverage moves and take advantage of like maybe a rapid spin speed boost or just run enough speed and outspeed something it really looks like it shouldn't. I think that's where Donphan tends to shine. And I will say going into making the tier Ds, I feel like this was a very tier D dominant season because you look at all the tier D nominees, and aside from like Aromatisse Chestnut, our defensive mons that don't have the most impressive looking differential, there were just a lot of good ones compared to like tier C even that you'll see nominated in later categories.
Yep. All right, Tier E Mons, we got Dusclops, Goregeist, a really gross Mon I refuse to name, and Vileplume. I'm just kidding. Pyukumuku. So, Tier E Mons, my favorite category personally. I love this one. I always look forward to the winner of Tier E Mons, and deservingly so, it is Vileplume. Um, I don't know why Pyukumuku got any votes. Those people, I'm concerned about them. But shout out to Vileplume. 8-7. I think it was 6 appearances or 7 appearances. I can't remember offhand.
Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and guess that it's probably 7, just considering it's deaths, but just a
Yeah,
guess.
fair enough. Fair enough. It that is tremendous value from Tier E. Getting 8 kills out of a Tier E Mon, even if it dies every game or every other game, you'll take that every single time. Great value. was used well, and Vileplume's kind of one of those mons that can be relied on. It's got some cool tricks with like sap, strength sap, and really nice stabs. So love seeing a Tier E Mon get 8 kills. That's nuts.
I actually do have the doc pulled up with stats, and it came to 8 games.
8
So one of
games.
those games, it lived to see the end, which
Yes.
is beautiful. Vileplume, it's one of those mons that I almost feel like could go up to Tier D at any moment, just because the strength sap has made it so good, and it really, I feel like it's just one of the best defensive grass types for the value you get in Tier E. And it doesn't have a lot of jobs, but those jobs it just does really well. It sustains itself, it sustains teammates with Leech Seed, and it makes things switch out because it's just really bulky.
Yeah, definitely a bit strange seeing this as an option, because it seems like Shadow is like became a Vileplume guy. Because I don't know, there's a lot of Pokemon that you can associate with Shadow, but that's kind of besides the point. But I mean that like it's funny that Static has kind of been a perennial uh most creative coach winner nominee. We saw that. Unfortunately, he didn't win it, but I think winning this award has to do that some justice, just because you have to be pretty creative and like you. But I mean, yes, you do also just have to be effective with your use of it, but you do have to express a lot of creativity still to get the most value out of your lower tier mons, and he did that. So, well done.
Well done indeed.
Yeah, I think one of the big things with just Tier E is just finding mons that people wouldn't think to use and just using them in ways that other people wouldn't think, and just kind of catching them off guard a little bit and just really making the most use out of them. I mean, most Tier A's don't come to 8 games, so that's where a lot of it came from. Moving on to best offensive mon here, we have the top 4 kill leaders of the season. And Greninja Protein from my team. We have Lando I from Camera Options Houston Dynamos. We have Keister's Mega Mawile from the Phoenix Flygons. And we have Urshifu Single Strike from TG's Vancouver Volcarona. And the winner is Lando I. And I don't think anyone's surprised about this either. Sort of how it was nominated as the hardest mon to prep for, hardest team. It really is just a scary threat. You look at it, you say 101, that's not the fastest. I got other mons, I can scarf something. But when it comes out of the gate, packing double life orb essentially, because of the sheer force, not taking damage from the life orb, which means it could be scarf and just not have revealed it. It could be rock polish, it can calm mind. It even has physical options for things like Chansey and Blissey. It's just gonna rip your team apart. There's very little counterplay. Like I remember prepping for it on my team. I ran like full Spidev Zygarde as like my check or counter. And it like I think I was fortunate to have something that could live 2 hits from it with that.
Yeah, I once again I don't have a lot to add here, just given the fact we've already covered this in multiple kind of awards and nominations. But as someone who had to face Cammy twice, can definitely confirm that this was a deserved win. I mean, yeah, as well as the hardest team to prep for win. But yeah, I mean that's about all I have to say. Definitely,
Yeah, I mean,
definitely
just
deserved.
the only thing I'll add is cap tip to camera eruption, right? How many videos have we come together, and you've heard me say it if you've watched ASL videos, you got to let big mons click big buttons. There's a lot of times that people have had great mons that did not a lot because they got too creative with them, or they wanted to use them in some unnatural role, and camera eruption allowed Landorus to be what it is. You know, he allowed it to click big buttons. It got a lot of kills, so really hats off to Camera Option for using a great mon effectively.
Yeah, how many times did we see U-turn?
Bro.
Like
All
0.
right. Next we have an award I like. Definitely highlights some mons that maybe were not highlighted. in other facets, but we have the most defensive, or not most, although maybe you could say most, the best defensive Mon. And the nominees are Licky Licky, Mega Aggron, Tapu Fini, and Tangrowth. And the winner was Tapu Fini. I think this is definitely another one where a lot of things deserve it. You need good defensive Mons to have success in this league, or well, in any league. But so you're gonna have one for each team, and I think it's differential and offensive record definitely helped with boosting his resume and such. But this is definitely a deserved award here. Dravo's had a pretty good season. He might not be too happy with it, but it's just another one of those things about tough seasons when you go 7-6 and you're placing 8th or 9th. Because that also happened. But I think definitely the highlight of his team this season had to have been the Fini. It put in a lot of work, and he definitely played around it really well. And it was definitely his MVP. I mean, it was integral to most of the success he had.
And I can't say this off the cuff without doing more research, but I, Tapu Fini has to be reaching the pinnacle of Mons that are like nominated for best of awards. It seems like we can't make a awards video without Tapu Fini being nominated for something. It is perpetually at the top in terms of performance in the ASL. It's a great Mon. It doesn't maybe have the same flair as a Lando Eye or a Weavile or something like that, but it produces season in and season out with countless coaches. It has been great, and this season was no exception. Dravo's used it similar to how Chem Eruption. You just used it for what it was meant to be used for. Dravo's used Tapu Fini in the way that Tapu Fini could be successful, and there's something to be said about that because there's a lot of people that pick up great Mons and use them poorly. So hats off to Dravo's for using Tapu Fini effectively and allowing it to be the really great Mon that it is.
Yeah, Brad, if you can go back one slide, I just want to point out how all these Mons have positive differential, and they're all being nominated as like defensive walls. And of course, like a Tier D Mon, Tangrowth Tier C Mon. That's just this category was tough for me. And we look at like Dravos' team. He had more Mons that also could have been nominated for this category.
Yeah.
The Slow King Galar, the Glow King, as people like to call it. So hard to break for a lot of coaches. The Miltank, the Fortress, the Dusknoir. Like there were he had other defensive Mons on his team, and granted, Fini's the highest tiered one with good reason. But the fact that it still stood out that much and ended up going 16-5, probably a few calm mind sweeps there. Regardless, like it's still just crazy good season for defensive Mons. I think even TG's Aromatisse was also positive differential, and that was like his other candidate I was looking at when I was writing up these nominations. But yeah, definitely very good usage. He had the freedom to do what he wanted to do with it, and it shows.
For sure. For sure. Oh, well, just shout out to Mega Aggron. Love you, big guy. All right. Best overall Mon. You probably have seen these Mons before, / couple of slides ahead of time. So, Greninja, Lando Eye, Mawile, and Fini all nominated for Best Overall. And the winner of Best Overall is Greninja Protean. Gosh, you couldn't really go wrong here. You could have picked any one of the group and you would have been right in my book. I honestly don't remember what Mon I voted for at this point, because they are all great, and you could have voted for any one of them. They were all on teams that had a winning record at the end of the season, so they all performed fantastic. But Greninja Protean is the winner. Congrats to Peach and Greninja for pulling home another award for the Greninja Bros.
Greninja gang rise up.
Yes, sir.
I will say this was kind of a crazy season for me in Greninja because it wasn't even on my team originally. I had torn T at the start of the season, and then I dropped it week 1. Greninja, like, personal story, I loved Greninja when it first came out. Thought it was like the coolest starter design ever. Loved that it was a ninja and a frog, and it was just crazy to me. And then it was one of the few starters where they had the hidden ability on release. So once you got to X and Y post game, you go to the friend safaris, and I don't remember which friend safari had it of my friends, but someone had it, and I had a protein Greninja like a month after the game came out, and it was just dummy good in competitive Wi-Fi, and then Boros came out. It got the tutor moves. It move pool got even bigger. It got Gunk Shot, which was the thing that put it over the edge. Got banned from OU, but at that point, I was like sick of seeing it, and I was just tired of it, and I really haven't used a Greninja in competitive since. And then when Sun and Moon OU came out and they unbanned everything, I was like, why is Greninja back? Why is there a second one? Why? Like they're not, and I kind of just stayed away from OU and Greninja as a whole ever since. And so this season for me was like my first time using it in a really long time, and I fell back in love with it. Spikes, T spikes, so good. Having Shadow Sneak as priority just to catch things off guard, like Dragapults. Being able to not like give a shit about your stab, whatever you run for stab moves, because your stab is whatever moves you're running. I love it. I think, like, honestly, it's my favorite Tier A. It's gonna be hard for me not to draft it next season because I enjoyed it so much, but I have a thing of not trying to use the same mons every season. So wish the best to the next coach that grabs it, because I think Brad was having this conversation with me too. Like, he was saying Protein Greninja is probably better than Ash Greninja, and I was unsure, but now I'm kind of with him in that debate.
I'm just gonna let that ode to Greninja stand by itself. But yeah, Greninja gang.
Fair enough.
All right, now we have 7th Mon of the Year, and for those of you new, just tuning in, not really sure what this means. Basically, it means any Mon that came to 6 or less games, so less than half of the games that the league runs for, and had an impact or just stood out in some way, in any way at all, really. So, for the nominees, we have Beware from My Woodland Weaviles, Piloswine from Shadow's PC Barcelona, Salazzle from Keister's Phoenix Flygons, and Weavile from Cam's Houston Dynamos. And the winner is Weavile from Houston Dynamos. Kind of shocking that this Mon was formerly like a Tier A, and here it is, only coming to, I think it was 6 games on the dock. I'll have to check. But it was really just, it was one of those things. Yeah, 6 games on the dot. It was one of those, it's one of those Mons you have to be smart with and use well. And I think in Cam Roshan's case, he just had a lot of good other offensive threats that it wasn't always necessary, like Lando I, the Scizor, the Sylveon, the Heliolisk, Hitmonchan in some cases. I guess he just didn't need Weavile every game. It was one of those things that made his team look scary on paper than it was in the actual game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's part of its use is prep and making people prep a certain way. Obviously, he did win that George Joint win that award earlier. So it even if it didn't come to as many games as you would expect, that definitely made its impact in that regard. I mean, yeah, I literally had to like check when I saw the nominees. I'm like, did he like was this like a mid-season pickup or something? Because I didn't think so, but like I still check because like it's crazy. But yeah, definitely there's a good reason for it winning both for its impacts on and off field battle,
Yeah.
whatever it's called.
I mean, the thing about Weavile, right, is if it's on your roster, it's contributing, even if it doesn't show up, because the opponent has to deal with a Weavile in prep. But that being said, I think we would all readily agree that Weavile's a 13 appearance Mon. At least it certainly is in my mind. Especially now with boots and triple axle. You can bring Weavile every week and it will absolutely make a difference. So, again, I would just shout out to roster construction. He managed to have a playoff level season and only needed Weavile 6 times. So, crazy. insane. Hope to never see Weavile disrespected like that again. But it did manage to earn an award from it, so I guess it worked out.
Shouts to Melone for voting like in Rock Dusk there and not on Best Tier D.
All right, so next we have the best Tier A/B free agent pickup. Nominees we got Blaziken, Brodian Greninja, Mega Aggron, and Spectrier. And yeah, this not really a surprise here. We've already talked so much about it. At this point I don't know what else to say, but clearly you can speak for this yourself, Peach, but you identified what you thought were problems with your team, and you made adjustments that were clearly very effective, and this is your reward.
Yeah. Well, he don't want to talk about it. But I will say, we've already talked about Greninja so much. Just shout out to the other Mons listed. Blaziken.
Yeah.
Spectrier played really above my expectations. I didn't think a lot of Spectrier coming into the season because if you have a healthy dark type, it essentially does nothing. But it played really good and kind of opened my eyes to Spectrier can be worthy of its really handsome price tag, which is not something I believed coming into the season. So, tip to all these months, Blaziken, Aggron, and Spectrier. Great job, well deserving of showing up. But yeah, I mean, Greninja won, I think, the overall MVP, so obviously it's going to win here.
Yeah, not much more to say on Greninja, honestly, but I think there were just a lot of Tier A's and Tier B's to pick up or to discuss in that sense, and hence why we had to split up the FA categories.
Yep.
So
yeah, so we did. This is the first year we've done this before. Traditionally, it's just best pickup, but we also went ahead and went with a low tier version of the best pickup, fitting in Aromatisse, Mega Steelix, Nihilego, and an 0-2 Volbeat. So the depth of that category was good. And the winner was Aromatisse, 7-6. And TG really relied on Aromatisse. And honestly, you can rely on Aromatisse. It's very bulky. It is very bulky. And Moonblast does more than I think people expect it to do. So Aromatisse is a great mon, and TG brought it regularly and relied on it to win games. So very deserving. You can see a vast majority of people gave Aromatisse the respect it deserves when it came to voting.
definitely, and while I'll say this half of the free agent category wasn't as stacked as the A and B half, it's nice to see like the Tier C, D, and E pickups, get noticed at least.
Mm-hmm.
And there were definitely a lot of good ones here. I didn't even remember Mega Steelix being a free agent pickup. And you laugh at the 0-2 Volbeat, but the 0-2 Volbeat won me the 2 games it came. So, but no,
Yeah.
Aromatisse, very solid, very good mon. And that's all I had to add.
But I think it's a bit funky just to pick up free agent awards in general with records differential, because obviously the transaction can happen from right after the draft till right before the deadline. So even if things don't provide as much value on paper necessarily in terms of their the entire season, even as you said, only a couple games can really make the difference. So yeah, definitely deserve a reward.
Yeah, love Aromatisse.
All right, and last voting award, we have the best nickname, also a new category that I came up with. You're welcome for all those of you who care or enjoy it. Best nickname, Entavisa coach nicknames are on. We have Elon Tusk of the Mamoswine from Popeye's team, Horseless Headsman, the Spectrier from TCP's team, Farticuno, the Articuno from my team, and Rojo, the Rotom Heat from TG's team. Kind of a draft joke there for those of you that were around for that. And winning was Elon Tusk the Mamoswine. I don't know why every time I saw this come to a game, it just put a smile on my face. I I just love it. It fits, and it's cool to give Popeye the award there, where I don't know that he was nominated for any other categories, but this Mamoswine will forever be in my memory.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a. I personally voted for Rojo just because I thought TG's draft antics were fucking hilarious. But yeah, I mean I think this was kind of another one where maybe a little hint at where the winner was headed before the votes came out. So maybe even something that inspired the award. Who knows?
Yeah. I always like nicknames. I like themed nicknames, but Elon Tusk got my vote by a mile. I liked that. That was fun. And
Right.
Melone?
Is it? Did I?
I don't
No,
know.
I lied. It wasn't the last voting. No, it's you.
Okay, yeah. So the nominees we have for Gimmick of the Year, always a fun one. We have the Rock Polished Meteor Beam Aurora Sweep, Focus Punch Weavile on Licky Licky Wish, Triple. Jesus Christ, this is like a fucking tongue twister. Triple Trick Lagging Tail Debate Bronzong, or whatever Popeye was trying to do here. And, well, or Static Sun Team versus Mega Houndoom. Haha, funny
Monka.
winner. Fun, haha. The winner obviously was the Rock Polished Meteor Beam Aurora Sweep. I think another one that probably saw coming. There was a lot of gimmicks this year that were either just kind of minor or were not very successful.
Mhm.
So this one definitely had a clear path to the win, and it's very deserved. I mean, it was a really fun game to watch and rewarding Drivos for his creativity there.
Yeah. Great use of Auroras. You love to see Tier E Mons contributing in a meaningful way. And so I love to see this Aurora sweep. I thought it was fantastic. You love Tier E Mons, man. You love them. And then to see it used successfully. Power Herb in the Meteor Beam is like a whole thing now for special rock types. The Mon played great. It was timed effectively. I thought it was a ton of fun. Was really excited about this particular sweep.
Yeah, I will say we were lighter on the gimmicks this season, hence how I forgot this category existed momentarily there. And I do want to shout out for Static there. He submitted his own Endure Weakness Policy Speed Boost Combuskin that I completely forgot happens. Silly me. How could I forget the only kill Combuskin got the entire season? But and honestly, like if I see Rock Polish Meteor Beam like sweep again, probably won't get nominated unless it's something like slower or worse than Auroras, like I don't know, a physical Rockmon. Then maybe. But it was just the timing of it was really good. It may have also gotten lucky Para versus the Mega Aggron and being able to just clean up like 3 Mons on team. Super cool to see from a Tier E.
Yep, for sure. And then just wrapping up our video, shout out to TG for getting his first championship in the ASL, which is crazy to say if you've been here from the beginning.
Yep.
TG was absolutely a dominant force in the first couple of seasons. If you've seen my ASL in review videos, you know that I believe TG made it to the finals with the worst team in the history of ASL finals and got demolished. And then this season, he made it with a good team, and look what happened. He got it done. Urshifu single strike is busted in every way imaginable. It's so insane. It two-shot my entire team. Straight up, not even with a choice band. it two-shot my entire team no matter how I invested the EVs. It was, I mean, it is what it is. But a great roster, great usage. You love it. You love seeing Kingler get a trophy. I've always loved Kingler. And, Rotom Heat, man. Rotom Heat has sucked
Rojo.
in ASL history
Rojo.
forever. Rotom Heat has, I think, the record for like the worst differential in the history of the ASL. It has the record for, I think, the worst differential in the season. I mean, it has had so many 1-8, 1-9 differential seasons. You love seeing it make it to the top of the mountain. So, congrats to TG. Congrats to everyone. Season 13 was really fun for a lot of people, and it was well coached. I think we had an 8-win team and 2 7-win teams that missed the playoffs, which is, I mean, that's really tough. So, congrats to everybody on a nice season, but especially congrats to GG for getting to the top of the mountain.
I have the stats pulled up. Rotom Heat, third place for worst differential, tied with Fortress, minus 29 in all-time ASL. Super, super, again, big congrats to TG. I think one of the more overlooked teams that maybe one of the teams that just looks easier on paper, but then when you get into the game, it's like, oh shit. There's an Urshifu, there's a Latias, there's a Nidoking. Like there's a lot going on, and then just having tier D's and E's that maybe, I guess, I don't know if I call it like the best synergy, but like just the best like pick off potential. The Kingler to just like get kills with liquidation, Swords Dance. The Kling Clang I know caught a couple people off guard just from not having anything great to deal with the steel types. And overall, just really, really solid season, especially TG fighting the whole way through. He ended up being 6th place in the playoff race, basically just barely getting in by differential, and like stuck it out, took the whole thing, didn't have a bye game or anything. Really just he that man plays. Like I will say our two battles where it came down to like the last Mon, and the first one went like 70 something turns, the second one was like 30 something turns. We both played to our best in both those battles. Very fun. And I gotta say, TG, like, definitely a coach who plays way out there. Like if there were like awards for who preps the best, I probably wouldn't put TG because he scarfed Latias or Shifu every week. But play the best, TG, hands down. He made the plays, he made the calls.
Yeah, man. I try not to be too long here, but I definitely have some history with TG. I was super excited to see him join back. I totally forget. It might have been me who, like, hit him up with the link after a conversation. For some reason, I remember that. If it isn't, who cares? Still really happy to see him back. He's my first ever ASL victory. Pretty crazy that's a stat that exists during what would be considered as his dominant era, aka before he left, or at least the early days of the ASL. But I mean, I just reiterating everything that Brad said about him, being really dominant early on, and just super happy to see, and kind of culminates what I was saying earlier about Keister and TG about people having a really good Renaissance season. So hopefully they'll be able to keep it up.
Yeah. You certainly pull for them. It's very, very hard to be at the top every year, especially in the ASL. There's so many good coaches. But TG is a very good coach, and he's absolutely capable of winning any individual week. So, just congrats to him. I look forward to some season 14 stuff coming out before too long. I think some surprises there, some new faces to the teams. Some new faces for season 14. Hello. Some Mons that you definitely do not expect to see will be there. So be around. It's going to be fun.
Ooh. Any little sneak peeks, sneak tidbits for the good folks watching at home.
Gosh, if you're still watching this video,
True.
Reshiram got unbanned for season 14. All right, that's it. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.